Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Juliet here. I'm an avid reader, as you can see from behind me, and as of recently, I got introduced to my first ever manga, One Piece. I finished reading Skypiea saga, and this is going to be my review, my thoughts, my theories. For this review and yap session to be as organized as possible, I have here my One Piece notebook with me. I have like a couple pages dedicated to each characters here, the events that I feel like are important or I feel like are worth of noting. I write them down, but I also keep like track of the events because my memory is not that good and I forget some details, and I feel like if I don't write them down, I'll forget them. So bear with me and let's talk about Skypiea saga of One Piece. This is the third saga, probably my favorite one so far. Not that there is many to choose from. Because One Piece is my first ever manga reading experience, I don't know what to expect or what to look for or what kind of expectations to have. Everything here is happening brand new to me, and I'm trying to get used to like the manga tropes. I'm trying to get used to like paying attention to pictures, which is like not available in regular novels. My only experience with anime, and like I guess you could say the world of anime, was with Attack on Titan. I watched it upon the insistence of my brother, who loves watching anime and who loves reading manga, and I did not think I was going to like it. I ended up binge watching it in a month, and it set up such a high expectation for me that I couldn't find anything that gave me the same feeling or the same excitement as it. So I just gave up on anime in general. It didn't cross my mind to pick up a manga. I just thought like it wasn't for me. I love reading regular novels as is. I didn't want to get into something new. I tried watching Solo Leveling, but nothing ever came close to the feelings that I had watching Attack on Titan. So I thought, that could be my one and only anime, like my introduction and my goodbye to it all. I was satisfied with that. Fast forward to today, One Piece starts being talked about on Book Talk. My mutuals start talking about One Piece. I immediately sprint to my brother, hey, what do you know about One Piece? It's a long series. It's been going for plus 20 years. It's been adapted into an anime, live action. The anime is getting like re-adapted. Said that it's his favorite of all time. Mind you, this kid never mentioned it to me, ever in his life. He has a few posters in his room, which I got spoiled from. Yeah, Luffy with his white hair. I've seen those posters all the time. Every single time I go to his room, they're there. But I finished East Blue. I go to his room, and this time when I'm looking, I'm recognizing them because Luffy has white hair in them. And I was so upset about it. I told my followers on TikTok about it. I also got like Law's backstory being like faked, spoiled as well. Well, like turns out that's just agenda piece stuff, so it's not like faked. But I'm guessing whoever Law is has a very tragic backstory that people need to believe is faked in order to like hate him. I know for sure Luffy doesn't have the gum fruit. I don't know what it is because I just immediately like logged out of everything. I stopped my duets from being like open, my stitches, even my downloads. I stopped checking my comment section. My brother goes through them occasionally for me. I stopped looking at my mentions. Like it was horrifying for me. I'm an avid reader. I like to experience everything for myself. The books that I buy while in the bookstore, I don't even read the back of them. I don't read the summary of them because I want to go in as blind as possible. We're getting off track. See, this is why I have a notebook. Keep in mind the things that I've spoiled. Luffy has white hair at some point. Luffy's fruit is definitely not the gum fruit, but what the hell is it? But it definitely has like rubber properties because we can see that he stretches, but also it's not just that. Right? Because he has super strength. What else? Law may or may not have faked his backstory. And that's pretty much it. Skypiea saga starts with our team wanting to go to an island in the sky because the locked pose of Nami's was pointing up to the sky. And suddenly a ship falls from the sky. And then 3 shadows of ginormous figures appears in the sky. We meet a few important individuals here. We meet the 5 supreme leaders of the world government, the elders, I think their name is. We meet 2 more warlords of the sea. One of them is Doflamingo, one of them is Kuma. We see a few glimpses of Mihawk. The elders basically want to choose somebody new instead of Crocodile because he got defeated by Luffy. And that's a shame. But also that got me thinking, none of the people that Luffy actually beats die. He doesn't kill them. They just get their egos hurt and they disappear a little. We also hear a little mention from the five elders talking about Shanks and how they don't want him to meet Whitebeard, who we also got introduced to. Whitebeard is Ace's captain, and he's on life support. The glimpse that I saw of him was him on life support. And he's a giant, by the way, which doesn't seem to be like an issue because it's not even like touched upon. It's just normal, I think, in the One Piece world for people to be ginormous. We also meet Blackbeard, who annihilated and attacked Drum Island, and who also happens to be looked after by Ace, Luffy's brother. We also meet Bellamy, the hyena, who at the end of Skypiea we learn was working under Doflamingo, one of the High Lords of the Sea. Why do I keep saying High Lords? It's all because of Akatar, one of the warlords of the sea. But at the end of it, he was being humiliated by Doflamingo for, again, being beaten by Luffy. And so, in the beginning of this journey, we learn about Noland, the liar, by his descendant, Blank Cricket. Blank Cricket keeps diving every single day of his life to basically rid his family's name of humiliation and ridicule because of Noland's lies. He believes that Noland did not lie, that Noland actually saw the city of gold, and that it actually sank into the water because of the shifting of the earth, like the earth plates. And so he risks his life by diving every single day to find this hidden gold, this hidden city of gold. Noland, to his dying breath, swore this city existed. It was here, but it must have sank into the water. He was not believed, and he was executed for it by his king. Fast forward to our day, Noland's descendant helps our crew find the actual location that they can be shot up to the sky from to find Skypiea, the island in the sky. Our crew actually manages this, and they find the island in the sky. We immediately are hit with heavy political themes that, in my opinion, Oda did not know how to navigate well, or actually navigated well in the beginning, but then ended them very, very poorly. I guessed from the beginning, when we got introduced to the indigenous people of Shandoria, that Jaya's half was actually shot up to the sky. Erenu, the god and the leader of Skypiea, who reigns with terror over his people, just erased Angel Island when he, started making his big bad plan, his evil plan of ruling over the sea. Shandoria, the half of Jaya that got shot up into the sky, that event was out of the control of the people of Jaya and the people of Skypiea. They just appeared in the sky one day. Now, the old leader of Skypiea immediately takes advantage of this because they don't actually have ground there. Everything is made of clouds, and so having soil was to their advantages. He immediately kicks out the people of Jaya and overtakes their land, colonizes it, kicks the indigenous people out of it. As the years pass on, the people of Jaya want their land back. They keep fighting for it. They are raising their children as warriors to one day take their land back. When our crew arrives there and are basically met with hostility because they're illegals in that land, because they didn't pay the entrance fee, they become criminals and they're being chased. We meet a couple of Skypian people. One of them actually hosts our crew in their house. They feed them, not knowing that they're criminals and illegals. Then they learn about it, and you can see that shift immediately that happened with Conus and her father, the fear that they have from the government, and the way they're like, oh, they don't even look like criminals. Nobody looks illegal, girl. That is an actually really smart reflection that Oda did from back then, from wherever this was first published. That mirrors our world and our current immigration events. And I thought that was great. Like, we have a lot of political aspect of One Piece that are being introduced to the series heavier and heavier as the series progresses. At the end of it all, when we learn that the Sky Knight who helped our crew in the beginning, as soon as they arrived to the White Sea, he happens to be the ex-kami, the leader slash god of Skypiea, and he was dethroned by a person named Eneru. This Eneru is just pure evil. He does not care about anybody but himself. He has this insane god complex, and he also ate devil fruit, which basically makes him one with lightning. He cannot just control lightning, a power of nature, an element of nature, but he becomes it. His body becomes lightning. He rules with fear over Skypians, and not only that, but we also got introduced to this power named Mantra that he possesses, that he trained, where he can actually like hear everything in Skypiea. That makes people fear him, that makes people not even like able to talk about him in their own homes without him being notified from this. We know that the old kami, Ganford, really tried to negotiate with the Shandorians. He tried his best to appeal to them, to come to a conclusion that didn't make him lose the land of Jaya that went up to the sky, which they call the upper yard. That's what we're going to talk about now. The upper yard, we're going to refer to it. The Shandorians refuse that. They don't want to come to negotiations. They want their land back, which is their right. Do we agree on that, you and I? They want their land back, and there's nothing to negotiate. If no land, war. He never actually came to negotiations with them, never came to a point when he was in charge, and then he was dethroned by Eneru. I think the choice of having Ganford be the leader of both groups, of the Shandorians and Skypians, was weird as hell to me. It was weird. I don't agree with it. That man had his chance when he was in charge of everything to give those people their land back, and he refused it. And now that everything is done, everything is ended, the Shandorians don't have to fight anymore. They don't have to protect their city of gold anymore, because the purpose of it was fulfilled. And we saw that from the poneglyphs that Robin read. But it just felt weird and icky to me. What do you mean? The man that was at one point their oppressor, at one point had the power to give them their land back and didn't give it back, being chosen not only by the Skypians but also by the Shandorians. That makes no sense to me. They could have chosen somebody from the Shandorians and somebody from the Skypians to rule both in agreement. But no, for the chief of Shandorians to say, hey, I want you to rule, no, not realistic at all, and it makes no sense. And I know this is like this was marketed for children, I think. And so like it makes sense for the author to want to close it all with the happy endings and rainbows and sunshine. But like I can't help it. I have to say it. But again, since it is directed for children and I'm way out of my scope and field here, I can see how Oda would want to make this like, appeal for the younger audience, to give them more hope and like positivity in life, to see like even in situations like this, people who don't see eye to eye can come together and live in harmony together. What else? Okay, Robin here is a new addition to the crew, and I was very skeptical of her. I did not like her when we were introduced to her, and I still am like iffy about her, but she's been like a new addition to the group because she's smart. She has this calm air about her. She seems very at ease with the crew, and they trust her. And when Luffy trusts somebody, you have to trust them too. This kid, even though he's an idiot at most times, his head is empty, he actually has this emotional intelligence where he can see people for who they are, truly. And with that, you have to like sort of trust him. And he trusts her enough to let her join his crew, but also be alone with Chopper, with the rest of the crew that are a little vulnerable. She read the poneglyphs, and we basically learned that they can be used in form of communication, of keeping history, but also in keeping the locations of certain weapons. A weapon that we were introduced to in Alabasta, and now in Skypiea. Not just that, but we also learned that Roger, Gold D. Roger, the king of the pirates, was also in Skypiea. Now, this is not a surprise because we know that he visited all the islands on the Grand Line in order to find the One Piece. But it's a surprise that he can read and write poneglyphs. Not just that, but I noticed the D in his name way too late, because I know it was talked about in Drum Island. That doctor referred to him as Goldie Roger and said like Luffy has the same air to him as Goldie Roger. And she's not the only one that says this. So many people that meet Luffy say he has the same air of Goldie Roger to him. Smoker said this once, I believe. The Doctor in Drum Island said this. And now the Sky Knight said this. Ganford. And so I want to know what the D in his name is, and if it's actually like a reference to his relations to the King of the Pirates. With what we saw from Eneru's powers, he erased Angel Island with his powers. Maybe there's a group of people who are responsible for keeping history records that maybe found something that the government doesn't want them to find, or took note of something that the government wants to keep hidden and got punished for it by being like annihilated, like a whole civilization gone. Because we see that if somebody can have the abilities that Eneru has to control lightning, be lightning, an element of nature, somebody else can control, earth, water, the weather, fire. We see that Ace has the element of fire to him. So with that being said, the government can basically get rid of a whole island, a whole generation of people that is co-responsibility is to keep records of history. So you can't account for those records because people that were supposed to keep them are gone. They're erased, deleted. That's the only thing that comes to my mind whenever I think about the 100-year gap of history. We saw a great dynamic of the group and how strong their relationship is becoming. Everybody cares about one another, and Luffy specifically keeps getting, his character just keeps developing. He takes more responsibility now. He's starting to not only take upon higher opponents as they go from island to island, but I think overall his role as the captain of his crew is becoming more and more apparent. A crew member that I really, really love, and my favorite so far, is Zoro. In Alabasta, Zoro fought off Mr. One, who basically was made of steel. And Mr. One was really beating him, and there's no way to cut steel, right? Nobody is strong enough to cut steel. And Zoro has this moment where he's just standing after being heavily injured, to the point where Mr. One, who injured him, he shredded his chest, turns back to look at him and say, "How are you still alive?" And Zoro basically starts saying "Oh, I can hear the trees' heartbeat. I can hear the stone breathing. I'm gonna cut through steel." And he actually defeats Mr. One. But he mentioned something about feeling like he was standing on the gates of Hades. And I'm not really into mythologies, but I think that's the gates of hell. And so every single time I see Zoro being undefeated, being this man of great stamina, I used to chuck at him, he's just been training his whole life to become the greatest swordsman. Of course he's gonna have stamina, but the more I see of him, I'm curious to see more of his past. How is he so strong? Same with Sanji. How is he so strong? How are they so strong? Usopp literally walked off being crushed by, what was her name? Spellentine? She could increase her weight and she was on top of him, and he walked it off. People are supposed to die when that happens, but our crew doesn't. Our crew seems to have an exceptionally strong build to them. They're biologically stronger than the rest of people that we meet in One Piece. Okay, Sanji got burnt to crisp by Eneru, mind you. And then he got up with his cigarette. Again, he's fine. How is he surviving being burnt to crisp? Same with Usopp. They got burnt to crisp. How are they surviving this? Also, Robin got attacked at one point when they were in Skypiea. Everybody got separated at one point, and she got attacked by this man, this giant, who just kept saying "bah" and destroying everything around him, and was injuring Robin in the process. And Robin's inner monologue, instead of being worried about her own safety, her own body that is being injured, all she could care about was, "Oh my god, we're standing on the grounds of an ancient city, on history, and it's being destroyed by this man." She didn't care about her own safety, but about the history that's being destroyed, about the artifacts and just the historical relics that were around her. Pissed me off a lot. Girl, what are you doing? Get up and fight. That's all I could think about in my head, which worried me because I'm starting to care about her, and I hope that she ends up being an actually good person and a good addition to the crew. We have a little character development for Chopper as well. Chopper, who's mostly afraid. Guys, Chopper, when he's hiding, assume this is a tree. Instead of hiding behind the tree and peeking out, he does the opposite. His entire body is literally outside and half of his eye is in the tree. Like, genuinely, Chopper is one of my favorites too. I love him so much. He actually got up and fought and tried to not run away and be a coward and wait for like the crew to rescue him. And he got heavily injured. And what happens when Zoro finds him? Takes him into his arms. Like, that is just the sweetest thing to me. They see him as this little thing that needs to be protected. And the way the crew like really love each other, except for Sanji and Zoro, it's very endearing. I don't know what Sanji and Zoro's deal is. They seem to always be bickering, always to be like, maybe because they're the same age or they're like the men in the group. But their relationship is a bit confusing, and I want them to actually be friends, like be besties. Come on, you need to actually be grown-ups to help Luffy with his stuff, because God knows he needs help. The final revelation of it all, Noland's backstory and what actually happened and the truth behind it, it was just a devastating backstory to read. Like, when I first read the scene, I was bawling my eyes out. Now, I don't cry a lot. I cried when we got to Nami's backstory, to Chopper's backstory. Those were like two instances where I like could not hold back my tears. And then we start being introduced to Noland's backstory, to how he found the island of Jaya, how he heard the bell, and how he was led to it by the bell. And then we see the plague that took over the island, and how Noland helped them cure their plague by taking like this extraction from the trees and then locating the actual infected trees and cutting them down without actually asking for permission from the people. And now I get that the practices of this island were barbaric, and that they were about to sacrifice a little girl to like get rid of the plague and make a sacrifice to the gods, like to the sun god, to the water god, whatever. They were about to sacrifice this girl, and he stops them, telling them, I can help you get rid of this. I know the cure to this. We have this moment of like beautiful friendship that develops between the leader of Jaya and Noland, and they even get offered like piles and piles of gold, and the leader of Jaya shows them like, Shandoria, this is our city of gold, this is the bell that you heard coming here. And they have a beautiful moment, but then they find out that Noland was cutting the trees, and they kick him out. Get out of here, we don't want you here anymore. Those trees are sacred to us. And Noland, instead of explaining to himself, okay, says leaves. But the daughter of the chief, the leader of Jaya, asks one of Noland's crew members, like, what happened? Why did you cut the trees? And then they explain, like, the trees were infected. If we left them, they would have just reinfected the entire island and you would have died. And there's this moment of, like, not really completed goodbye between Noland and the chief, where he leaves and he's sailing, and just as he's leaving the island, the guy comes back, the chief, and says, I'm sorry, Noland. I'm sorry. Come back here again. I'm going to ring the bell for you so that you can find your way back to us every single day. And there's this moment of like actual despair that they both experience, because they never see each other ever again. One of them gets flinged up to the sky, the other gets executed while trying to prove that Jaya existed without actually having any proof. And it was a devastating thing, but also like really weird, because Noland is basically this colonizer. Like, I don't care if he's named an explorer, he was a colonizer who came, and even though he helped them and saved them, like, you can look at things from two different lenses, okay? Looking at it the first time, this is sweet and endearing, but stupid Noland went back to his king talking about oh look, I found this island, and they gave us gold, let's go get it back. This island has a city of gold on it. What are you talking about? Don't you know your own king? Like, what did he expect to happen? Because what was going to happen, had Jaya stayed on land, on water, and not flung up into the sky, would be the king coming with his soldiers, because he told him, you're not going to go with your own crew, you're going to take my soldiers with you, my men. And so they would have colonized Jaya regardless. Like, Jaya's fate was doomed from the beginning. They were going to get colonized either by the king of Noland or the Skypians. That's devastating on their part. But like, Noland may have been kind, but he was not the brightest, I'll tell you that. Why are you telling your king, oh, there's this island on the Grand Line, they had a city full of gold? Hello? I guess it's hard to ask for so much. You can't be smart, bright, and kind at the same time. You gotta pick one. The same with Luffy. He's not the brightest, but he's the kindest. I hope what I said makes sense to you. English is my fourth language, you guys. If I say some stupid nonsense, something that makes absolutely no sense, cut me some slack. I really am trying my best here. I love reading, and more than reading, I love talking about my books. And none of my family are readers. My brother loves manga, but come to convince him to read one of my books? That is just wishful thinking that will never actually happen. And so I'm glad that some of you requested me doing like longer videos on YouTube. Enjoy. I'm about to start reading Water 7. We hit 50k on TikTok. And I'm about to start reading Water 7. Let me know if you have any more questions. Thank you for being here. Thank you for introducing me to this and for sticking around this long. If you have, make sure to like this video, subscribe, do your thing. I think I'm here to stay. I'm loving this process, this journey, and I hope you like it too.